There was a time when San Francisco was almost invisible on the map. No towering skyline, no Golden Gate Bridge stretching across the fog, no glow of city lights reflecting against the Pacific waters, just rolling hills covered in wild grass, cold ocean winds sweeping across untouched land, and a quiet natural harbor resting at the very edge of the continent. If we travel back to the early 1800s through AI reconstruction, what we see is not a global powerhouse of innovation, but a fragile settlement standing at the edge of uncertainty, a place few in the world had even heard of. In the early 19th century, this region was under Mexican control. It was known as Yerba Buena, a small coastal outpost with only a few hundred residents. The settlement was modest and scattered. Wooden houses stood near the shoreline, built with practicality rather than ambition. Dirt paths connected homes and small storage buildings. There were no paved roads, no structured city grid, no grand architecture. The harbor was calm and largely empty, disturbed only occasionally by trading ships bringing supplies or collecting animal hides and agricultural goods. Life moved slowly. Fishermen repaired their nets by hand, ranchers tended cattle across wide open land, and traders bartered goods in small quantities. There was little urgency here. No one standing on those quiet hills could have imagined that this land would soon become one of the most chaotic and transformative cities in American history. Everything changed in 1848. Far from the quiet harbor, near the American River at a sawmill known as Sutter's Mill, a carpenter named James W. Marshall noticed something shining in the water. At first, it was just a few metallic flakes caught in sunlight. But those flakes were gold. The discovery was initially meant to remain secret. The landowner hoped to avoid disruption. But gold does not remain hidden for long. Rumors spread quickly, first locally, then across California, and soon across the entire United States. Newspapers began printing bold headlines. Letters carried the news across oceans. Within months, the world was listening. By 1849, the transformation had begun. Men from the eastern United States abandoned farms, workshops, and offices. Some mortgaged their homes. Others sold everything they owned. Ships departed from New York, Boston, and ports across Europe, traveling thousands of miles around Cape Horn. A dangerous and grueling journey that could take months. Others attempted overland routes across deserts and mountains, facing disease, starvation, and exhaustion. They were not simply travelers, they were dreamers, gamblers, risk-takers. They became known as the 49ers, named after the year many of them arrived. When they reached San Francisco's harbor, what they saw was not a structured city ready to welcome them. It was opportunity wrapped in chaos. Through AI reconstruction, we can now witness that harbor in 1849. The once empty bay becomes crowded with ships, hundreds of them. Many are abandoned entirely as crews rush inland toward gold fields. Some vessels are stripped for lumber to build homes and businesses. Others are converted into floating warehouses, hotels, or prisons. The shoreline transforms into a frantic landscape of construction. Tents spread across the hills. Wooden structures rise overnight with little planning or regulation. The quiet settlement of Yerba Buena begins to disappear beneath the weight of human ambition. Within a single year, the population explodes from a few hundred to tens of thousands. Basic supplies become scarce. Food prices soar to extraordinary levels. A single egg, a loaf of bread, or a simple tool can cost more than many can afford. Water and sanitation systems are almost non-existent. Fires frequently break out in tightly packed wooden buildings, destroying entire blocks. Yet despite the instability, people continue to arrive, because the promise of gold is stronger than the fear of failure. But for every man who strikes gold, dozens leave empty-handed. Mining proves far more difficult than imagined. Rivers are cold and unforgiving. Labor is exhausting and often fruitless. Competition grows fierce. Disputes over land claims turn violent. Crime spreads rapidly in the absence of strong legal institutions. Gambling houses and saloons multiply across muddy streets. With limited formal law enforcement, vigilante groups form to impose order. Public hangings and swift punishments become common. Justice is often harsh and immediate. San Francisco in the 1850s becomes a city of extremes. On one street, a man celebrates sudden wealth. On another, someone collapses from hunger and exhaustion. Luxury and desperation exist side by side, but amid this turbulence, the foundations of permanence are quietly forming. Entrepreneurs begin to understand that supplying miners is often more profitable than mining itself. General stores expand. Shipping companies grow powerful. Warehouses line the waterfront. Banks emerge to manage sudden fortunes. Insurance companies develop to protect against fires and theft. Newspapers publish daily reports of gold discoveries and market prices. What began as a chaotic boomtown slowly starts organizing itself into a functioning city. The gold rush also brings diversity. Immigrants arrive not only from across America, but from Latin America, Europe, Australia, and China. Entire communities form within the city. Cultures mix, languages blend, and new neighborhoods emerge. But growth is not without injustice. Chinese immigrants, despite contributing significantly to labor and trade, face discrimination and legal barriers. Native American communities suffer displacement and devastating population loss as mining operations expand. The environmental impact is severe. Rivers are diverted, forests are cut. The land itself is reshaped in pursuit of precious metal. By the mid-1850s, the easy gold begins to disappear. Many miners leave California, disillusioned and bankrupt, but San Francisco does not fade with them. Instead, it evolves. The harbor that once welcomed desperate fortune seekers transforms into one of the most strategic ports on the Pacific coast. Trade with Asia increases steadily. Goods move in and out at growing speed. Financial institutions strengthen, turning the city into an economic hub for the western United States. Eventually, the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad links California to eastern markets, securing San Francisco's role in national commerce. By the late 19th century, the city bears little resemblance to its earlier form. Elegant Victorian homes rise across the hills. Structured streets replace muddy paths. Cable cars begin climbing steep inclines, becoming symbols of innovation and adaptation. Banks and corporate offices dominate the financial district. The raw chaos of 1849 softens into structured ambition, and yet, beneath the orderly facade, the spirit of the gold rush remains. The culture of risk, the willingness to gamble on possibility, the belief that reinvention is always possible. San Francisco's identity was forged not through slow, predictable development, but through urgency, pressure, and human desire. When we compare the silent shoreline of early 1800s Yerba Buena to the overcrowded harbor of 1849, and then to the organized metropolis of the late 19th century, we witness one of the fastest urban transformations in American history. This city was not built gradually over centuries. It was shaped by a moment, a discovery in a river that triggered global migration and reshaped an entire region. Gold did not simply create wealth, it created momentum. It attracted ambition. It forced rapid innovation. It built infrastructure, finance, and global connections. Today, when we look at modern San Francisco, a city known for technology, entrepreneurship, and cultural influence, it is easy to forget that beneath its modern skyline lies the foundation of abandoned ships, wooden shacks, muddy streets, and fragile dreams. Beneath the digital world stands a city born from physical struggle. History is rarely neat. It is layered, complex, human. It carries triumph and tragedy side by side. And when we use AI not to glorify the past, but to reconstruct and understand it, we begin to see that cities are living stories. They are built from risk and resilience, from hope and hardship. San Francisco in the 1800s was never just a place chasing gold. It was a city discovering who it wanted to become. If this story made you see the past differently, then remember, history is never truly gone. It waits to be rediscovered. If you enjoy exploring the forgotten, the unseen, and the untold, subscribe to The Unseen Time. I was a traveler through time, and I will return with another hidden chapter of history.